Hey guys, welcome back to the CDC podcast. And as this episode is going live, that means that we are going to be closing out the year of 2025. We're going to put an official little bow on it. And instead of jumping straight into episodes for 2026, new year, new goals, this is what to focus on in your business, I actually want to take the opportunity to slow this episode down. Because if you're anything like me and you've been in business longer than a few years, you know that growth doesn't come from moving faster. We don't just continue to plow our way week after week, month after month. It actually takes time for us to be able to reflect, to see what worked, to see what we want to carry through to the next year, and then of course to give us the opportunity to separate and leave some things behind. So the way that we do that is it's not by moving faster. It comes from integrating and reconnecting with what actually happened the year before. So in today's episode, I want to walk you through my year, not as a highlight reel, not as a checklist of wins, but I want to show you what real reflection looks like. So we're going to go through what I intended for 2025, what challenged me, because there were tons of challenges, what worked, what I shifted, because I shifted a lot, and how I define success as a business owner, a partner, a new dad, and a human. And my hope with this episode is that this gives you permission to reflect on your year differently, with honesty, clarity, and ultimately with less pressure to perform your way into the next chapter. So going into this episode, I want to start with intentions, because most people set intentions in a way that guarantees frustrations. They turn intentions into logical goals or to-do lists. They look at everything they want to accomplish and they're like, I'm going to do all of these 15 things, and if it's successful, it's a check mark, and if it's an X, then it's a fail and it's something else that I have to do next year. You know when you are doing your intentions wrong, when your intentions sound like, I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m. every day, or I'm going to grow my business by 15% every single month. I will tell you right now, there's no energy in that. Any intention that sounds like it has no part of your identity involved and no emotional buy-in is not going to work. Because if you don't have energetic buy-in into something you are trying to do, you won't sustain it when things get uncomfortable. And by uncomfortable, I mean the challenges, I mean the setbacks, all of the things that you experience in business and in your personal life. So to me, an intention is not an action. It's a way of being. How can I operate with one word or one phrase that can touch every area of my life, not just my business? So let me share with you what my intentions for 2025 were. I had two of them. I had the word consistency and I had the word change. So going into my business, use the word consistency. By consistency, I didn't mean posting every day or networking every week. I showed up consistently in my business every day, just like you do. To me, consistency was different. It meant showing up with the same message, the same values, and the same standard every day. Because here's what I found when I was starting the year of 2025. I had an audience and I had people who were looking at my stuff every single day, week after week, and I was continuing to grow. I was growing my leadership. I was growing my standards. I was growing new programs. I was growing my certifications. I was growing spiritually as I was connecting more with God. And as I continued to grow, my audience stayed the same because I didn't communicate those things. I was showing up, still talking at this level, doing random pieces of really high level content. And what happened was it didn't give people the natural bridge to be able to follow me there. So I would have people who were show up at a really low level with really low challenges and problems. And at that time, I was working with health coaching. I was just doing the business coaching with a couple of clients. And then I had people who were really high level, really self-led, the people I wanted to be working with. And there was a stark difference. And when I took a look at that, I said to myself, what was it that I needed to change? And that's also why change was a big intention for a year of 2025. But sticking with consistency here, I recognized that I was showing up on social media every day, that I was posting multiple times a week, showing up everywhere. I was networking the same. I was doing all of these things consistently. But what I wasn't doing consistently was showing up with the same message, my high-level version of message, showing up and operating from the same level of values, and also showing up with the same standards. Every single time I went into a room, created a piece of content, did a masterclass, they were all over the place. The message was inconsistent. The standard was inconsistent. The values that I was showcasing to people, some of them were old values, some of them were my new values. And what that meant was a lot of people really didn't have a clear understanding of how I was changing, and so they couldn't follow me there. And it really did impact my business, not in regards to sales, but in regards to the quality of people that I was working with. Because if you look at all of the clients that you're working with, you're going to have some select clients which are like, wow, if I could have all of my clients be this person, my business would be a totally different thing. It would have a totally different feel. And then you have a couple of clients in your roster, and we all have had in the past, or you all do now, that it's like, I cannot take on another person like this. And what it comes down to is value, message, and standards. We have to be communicating these things as we continue to grow. So for the year of 2025, I had the intention of consistency. I wanted every single person to be able to have a clear roadmap and understanding, so that way the message, the value, and the standard all led them towards me. I basically paved the way of the stepping stone using my content, showing my leadership, stepping into rooms and taking more leader positions, so that way I could have people grow with me, because I don't like leaving people behind. The second word that I picked was change. Change to me meant letting the business evolve even when something was working. At the beginning of 2025, I was looking at a very successful business. I mean, we hit 1.4 million at the end of 2024, which was amazing. Had hundreds of clients. The team was working steady, but things still really felt stale. I had hit a ceiling which wasn't necessarily income based. It was really engagement based, where I had become accustomed to doing the same thing every single day, and what felt like routine just became something that was blah. And the system was working. Every day clients saw great results. The people who finished their program successfully, we already had replacements for them. The team was doing what they were supposed to be doing. I had my regular meetings and check-ins with clients, and everything was a streamlined process. So looking back at that, I was like, well, I don't really want to do something new. I don't really want to input something different, because I don't want the old thing to break. I just worked so hard to get it to this place. For it to break now would probably be something that was really devastating for me. So because everything was working, I was like, well, why should I change? But that lack of change created staleness for my creative energy. It created staleness for my business, where there was a natural ceiling that I wasn't willing to push past. And it also created this staleness in just my day-to-day routine. Nothing was new. It was very predictable. I was almost mimicking the same conversation, saying the same thing to people. It started to affect my marketing. It started to affect my content. It started to affect the way that I show up as a leader. Hence also the consistency of values going into the same standard and the same messaging. I wanted to continue to grow all the way up. And there's really, really great examples of this that like a lot of you guys can use, and really great opportunities when it comes to change. Right? Like most clinic owners are very accustomed to staying booked every day. The model is really set up where you have super ton of clients back to back. Your clinics are filled. You're doing your adjustments. You're writing the plans, but it's just a rinse and repeat. Like that's a system that works. That's a system that's not broken. That's a system that has clients, but it's a system that has you locked into it. It's a system where you don't get creative genius. It's a system where you feel stale. So when it comes to change, like change would be a clinic owner who's staying booked, but they're like, you know what? I'm going to change the way I deliver my business anyway, because I know that there's more for me here. I'm going to change the way I do things, even though I'm already booked. Or like another great example is like coaches or health people online who only work with one-on-one. So you'll have a naturopath, you'll have a dietitian, you'll have a nutritionist, you'll have an online fitness trainer who only take on one-on-one clients. And it pays the bills and it works and they make really good income and they have a steady amount of clients and they see their sessions 2 to 3 times a week and it's all structured. And it's like the person who is open to change is the coach or the practitioner who is willing to let go of one-on-one coaching, even though it paid the bills. For me, I had implemented change into 2025 because I wanted to see different. I wanted my creative juices flowing. I wanted to be doing exciting things every day. And although, yes, you are still going to have similar conversations, I wanted every day to be something that really tested me because that's where I enjoyed myself the most part. Now, personal. Remember, the word is consistency and the word is change. So personally, consistency was really in how I showed up for family. So when we talk about the values, the message, and the leadership, it's the same thing. If I am trying to be a leader in business and I'm a leader of a team and I'm a leader inside my business and I'm a leader for my clients, why would I take a back seat for leadership when I come with my family? Why am I not the one who's setting up the family gatherings? Why am I not the one who's messaging people first to see how they're doing? Why am I not the one who's going to be the first one to provide as help and assistance when someone needs it? That is consistency. And it's the same thing with change. To me, the word change was a change in identity. I didn't just stay as a business owner, I also became a father. But becoming a father for me was not just adding dad to my schedule. It was really about, well, what does fatherhood mean? Fatherhood means if I'm going to change the way that I operate, I have to have full presence. I'm not going to be half working on my business and then half babies in the arm and I'm creating content doing emails. It's I'm going to work on my business when I'm in it. I'm going to be with my child when I'm with him because that's what matters, the separation. The change in identity was me looking at the way that I ran my business now and saying, even though it has a lot less of me in it, there are still pieces that are heavily tied to me and I need to change that. Because I knew that that identity change was coming, right? 9 months of pregnancy, during that whole process, I thought, what do I need to change inside of my business so that way I can show up as the highest person and the highest father that I absolutely can be? So consistency was showing up at the highest level that matched the values that I was taking inside of my business. And change was a change in my identity as I was going through. Now, when it comes to this change, it's not just a change in identity. There was also a change in spirituality. Where for me, this aspect of like consistently reconnecting with God, praying daily, church weekly, slowing down enough to actually listen. All of that is change in consistency in the way that I operate spiritually in my personal life. It wasn't just we're adding God in now. Let's just like check off we're going to church every single week or I'm praying every night. The goal is when you're there, you're listening to the sermon. The goal is if you're reading the Bible, you're actually embodying the message. The goal is if you're praying, the prayer is not an afterthought. The prayer is something you're leading into and you're excited about every day. And that requires change. It means that you have to put God and you have to put the spirituality and the sources that affect your life first. You have to put it first before your business. You have to put it first before your family. And that's a very, very different take. It requires a certain level of trust that I didn't have at the beginning of 2025. I wanted to have it, but there were still a lot of questions that I had around reconnecting to God. Like, what does that look like? How does this apply to my family? If I am going to bring God into my family, what is going to be the expectations of me? What does God want from me and what is he calling me to do? All of these things are things that I was thinking of when it came to the word consistency and when it came to the word change. Personally, it's not just me though. There's also community. So consistency in relationships. How do I go about my day every single day consistently being involved? How am I involved in my community around me? How am I involved with my family? How am I involved with my friends? And this is so much more than just communicating the values and showing up. It's the above and beyond to let someone know, wow, this person really cares. And when it comes to change, I mean, so much from change in regards to community, being a part of a men's group, putting myself back into networking, taking on other leadership positions. All of these things were things that I did because in order for me to show up consistently, I had to change the position I was in those rooms. I had to, one, put myself back into those rooms, and then two, if I was already in the room, I had to put myself to a higher level in those rooms. So do you see how when you're looking at those two words and those intentions, they really do affect every aspect of my life. also see how these intentions are not goal or outcome based. I'm not like buy 15%, an extra 40K a month. Because those things come when you are actually focusing on being intentional. That's the key. If you are doing this with intention, which is what the whole word means, you're putting pressure, you are applying tension and friction on that thing so you can really focus on it. You're in tension. If you're focusing on that, then of course you're going to get these outcomes. And by not focusing on the outcome, by not focusing on whether or not you're going to get it or you're not going to get it, you get to have a full level of presence. It actually becomes easier and your life has more flow and less friction. So those were my intentions going into 2025. Now, if I had to give you one word to use as a business owner, just as like an example of an intention, it wouldn't be more, it wouldn't be bigger. Maybe the word would be like leader. And if you were being a leader in your business, think about your systems would look different. Your calendar would look different. Your offers would look different. Your role would look different, the way that you're actually showing up to your team or showing up inside of your business, because you're taking leader and you're applying it everywhere. And the same thing for your personal life. If you took leader, how do you show up to your family? How do you show up to your friends? How do you show up in your communities? Are you the person who takes on the projects? Are you the person who initiates? Are you a leader spiritually? Are you showcasing great examples for people to be able to follow you, whether it's through God's light or whatever light you're seeing your life from? All of these things are from that single word and that single intention. Now, I will say every set of intentions you got, they have to have challenges and pivotal moments, right? I mean, everything meaningful has friction because that's what actually makes you appreciate achieving it. If it didn't have a challenge and it was very easy for you to do, then it probably wouldn't mean anything. So when stuff doesn't go my way, which happens a lot, instead of asking like, man, why is this happening to me? I like to ask a different set of questions. And this is how I really help navigate and deal with challenges through the process. The first question that I ask is, what is this asking me to let go of? Because a lot of times we carry old baggage and old energy inside of our business and our personal life because we feel like we are obligated to carry it. Someone said this is a way that you have to run business, so you have to keep it. Your old mentor gave you a phone script a long time ago and you're using it even though it's clunky. Or the offer that filled up your one-on-one time slots, now that your time slots are super filled, you're like, I can't keep pushing this offer, but you don't want to change it because it's what filled your time slots. All of this is asking you, what do you let go of? The second question is, what identity no longer fits? There are so many times over the course of many years, and using 2025 as an example, where an identity never fit me, where I was really, really obsessed of being like business owner, entrepreneur, and I had this identity, and the first thing that I would lead in every conversation was I run a business. Business was not who I was. Business was just something I did. I'm now doing business coaching, but I did health and hormone support coaching before. I had a supplement company before. We did in-home training before. All of these businesses and companies, they were all just things that I did, but they weren't who I was because who I was continued to grow and change. So for me, the identity that no longer fit was this idea of health coach. Every single day, I was having conversations, helping people grow their business. And my identity of I just help people with health didn't really make sense. And it made sense for a long time. 6 years I was helping people with health and hormone coaching. But all of a sudden, going through 2025, I started having more of a passion for business than I did helping people with their health. And health is still wildly important, but I just love talking business now. So that identity no longer fit me. I was no longer just the health coach because I built a $1.4 million business. I was no longer just the health coach because I was helping people grow and scale their brands. I was no longer the health coach because I was doing speaking and I'm actively writing a book. And the identity of just health coach no longer fit me. So the question is, what identity no longer fits you? Are you hanging on to the identity of solopreneur, where you're very full right now and now you know that you need to grow a team, but you're like, nope, but I've been on my own forever. Like maybe that's the identity you need to let go of. Or maybe you need to let go of the identity of boss, where you have a team, but you're still doing a lot of stuff on your own and you're having a hard time letting go and giving everything to your team. The third question that I would always ask myself when I was having challenges, after I asked those two, of course, is like the question of what needs to change now, not later. So many times we recognize areas in our life where we go, I knew that I wanted to shift. I knew that I wanted to change. I knew that I wanted to do something different. And yet I didn't move for 6 months. And the question is, why would you do that to your business? And why would you do that in your personal life? If you know that your model is going to get full in 4 months, you need to move now. If you know that your offer is no longer aligning up with you, then don't wait 7 months and then change the offer. Create a new offer and launch and fill that offer tomorrow. What needs to change now, not later? Because the longer we wait, the more energetically connected that potential change happens. And then you're stuck cutting all of these energetic ties before you have to make that choice instead of making it whenever you felt it. And there were a lot of things that I was energetically involved in. I can tell you 2025 was, ironically, the year of the snake. And I'm not one of those like, year of the snake, 2026 is the year of the horse. Like, I don't really care of that stuff, but I just find it ironic that it was the year of the snake and that a lot of the things that I was doing in 2025 was letting go. I was cutting energetic ties. I was exiting networking groups that no longer were an energetic match for me. I was closing up certain programs or offers that I was running that I was no longer in alignment with. Because if that energy continues to exist and draw, it means that you have to have so much momentum, so much motivation to actually move, to do things day to day. So let me tell you the things that I let go of, because there are a lot of things that I let go of. First was old business identities. I told you guys I had to let go of this aspect of business owner and entrepreneur because it doesn't necessarily matter what business you're in. You're just working every day. I also had to let go of the identity of health coach because now that I was doing and helping people build their businesses and their practices, and I wasn't taking on any more health clients. I was no longer a health coach in that moment. I just had to decide that I wasn't. After the old identities, one of the things that I let go of was doing things because I always have. This comes back to the consistency and change, where in 2024, whenever I would create a piece of content, whenever I put out a marketing thing, whenever I'd have an email campaign, whenever I'd do sales, it was always scripted. We always created templates, processes, and it was always the same way every single time. But when it actually came to seeing a different result, I would have to change the way that I would do something. But I'm like, but we've always done it this way. So we're just going to keep doing it this way. And what I recognize is if I'm doing things just because I always have done them that way, there's really no room for growth. I actually can't grow any further because I'm not leaving space for new. I'm not leaving space for creative energy to actually help me flow into different things. So I had to let go of that and I had to be open to trying stuff new. And I also had to be open to failing if that new stuff didn't work. Another thing that I let go of was like carrying responsibility that wasn't mine, because a part of this is still largely attached to ego for me. So my ego dictated for a really long time that in order for me to be successful, I had to do it myself because everything was always up to me. Building my business was squarely on my shoulders. Serving clients was squarely on my shoulders. Taking care of my wife was squarely on my shoulders. And that's what I believed, by the way. None of that stuff was all mine. I just chose to make it all mine. And so what I did was I carried on all this responsibility where anytime someone asked something of me, requested something of me, the answer was always yes. Can you do this talk? Yes. Can you write this presentation? Yes. Help me with this on Saturday? Yes. Can you take on this? Yes. Can you help me run the networking group as chair? Yes. And everything was yes, 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 yes. And then I had all of these responsibilities that was actually slowing my purpose and stopping me from changing into the person I wanted to become. It was like, I can't fully be a business coach because I'm in a networking group where I'm still promoting health coaching. I can't be a full present partner for my wife because there were still a bunch of other projects that I had on the go for business that was taking up our date nights. So I would push our date nights all the time. And this is where recognizing there are places where responsibility is not yours, where you're not letting people down. You just have to put yourself first. And that might frustrate other people, but it's my life. It's my life. And in order for me to get into full alignment and fully resonate, I have to say no. I have to make tough choices. And truthfully, between you and me, choices were tough. I knew I had to make the choices. What was tough was hearing the person be like, this sucks. I thought you were a part of this. Or, oh, but please, can you stay? And it's like, no, sorry. Like I'm following my own dream and my own destination. And now another thing that I let go of was speed for the sake of momentum. Man, my life was moving very, very fast all throughout the year of 2025. All throughout the year of 2024. And I really thought that if I just kept moving really fast, that everything would just line up. And it's not. When you are on a speedboat and you make a small left-hand turn, that turn becomes a 4 or 5 foot change because your speed is really progressing at a level that you really can't predict. And so what I found was the faster I was moving in 2024, I was making a lot of really big overcorrections. Because I was moving so quickly, I didn't actually have time to fully think, is this alignment with me? Is this what I want? Is this my purpose, my passion? Is this something that makes sense right now? Because sometimes it's not no, but the answer is not right now. All of these things came from me just moving way too quickly in my life. So going into 2025, I had to let go of speed. If I'm going to move once and I'm going to move right, and I'm going to take 15 steps with that move when other people are taking 75 steps, but only 15 of them are working. And I'll tell you, like a lot of business owners, when it comes to letting go, a lot of business owners get stuck here, especially in the health space, because we're accustomed to doing everything on our own. We're still doing the admin. We're still being the bottleneck of our sales, of our marketing. We're still afraid to raise prices because there are clients who have been with us for 4 or 5 years. And we're like, oh, we can't do that to them. Or we're afraid to change the way we deliver, even when the signs are obvious, like your schedule is super full, you can't take on any more people, you work until 8 p.m. All of these things were things that I had to rethink. I had to rethink the way that I was growing. I had to rethink where effort was being wasted. I had to rethink what growth actually requires. I also had to rethink how much control was actually needed because I thought that I needed to control everything. It turns out you actually don't need to control a lot to lead. And this is also the second place where I think a lot of business owners get it wrong. As we start to let things go, we feel like we still have to control the outcomes and the desires, when in reality, we just have to relinquish the expectations of it. We have to say to ourselves, I'm going to grow, and whatever happens is whatever happens. Because here's what you can control: how you show up, your intention behind something, the value, and your alignment. That's it. You can't control anything else in your life and in your business. The outcome is a complete result of all of those things. If you're not intentional, if you don't have true alignment with it, if you're moving too fast, and if you haven't fully processed whether that's right for you, you're probably going to get really wild results in your business. So you have to take the opportunity to take a step back, like I did through 2025, and reassess all of that. So now let's go into successes. Like when we talk about challenges, they're separate from success. Like success comes after the hard part. To me, the challenges of 2025 didn't interrupt the success that I had. They defined it. Because what you are willing to let go of, what you're willing to rethink, and what you're willing to outgrow ends up shaping what actually works for you. Now, before I share what actually worked for me this year, and before I share the successes, I want to be clear about how I even define success in the first place. Because everyone has a different definition of success, and I don't define success by external markers. I don't care what kind of car I drive. I don't care whether something is brand name or whether it looks impressive. What I care about is reliability. I care about sustainability, and I care about freedom. I want to live my life on my own terms and my way. A great example of this is like money. I haven't increased what I pay myself since 2020. Not because I can't, because we can. We have tons of money in the corp, but because I don't need to. I don't need to expand what I make, and then all of a sudden my expenses grow because I have more money to do that. My life didn't improve past a certain income level. There gets to a point where you make the money and money makes money. Like what improved was how intentional I became with my money, my time, and my energy. So I leave money in the corporation, I invest it, I let that money make money. And because I never expanded my lifestyle, I live without debt. The only thing we have is our mortgage. I travel freely and I'm on track to be mortgage free by 40 and I'm 34 now. So we're so close. That's the only thing that's the last energetic tie where I don't owe anybody anything. So to me, success is how you feel inside your life. A successful life doesn't feel like something you have to push uphill every day. Successful life feels like what you're doing matches who you are and your effort has flow instead of friction. Success is when your life feels honest, not just impressive. And I actually talk about this in the definition in my coming TEDx talk. So when I share these wins with you, I'm proud of them, not because of how they look, but because every one of them was something that I was fully aligned with emotionally and energetically. So let's start with business first. I started my book. I started my book in 2025. And although I have this under business, it is a book on depression. I am very proud that I started this book because as a business owner, I feel that there are a lot of business owners that suffer with anxiety, high levels of stress, depression, and they don't know how to navigate it. And the entire purpose for me to be able to start my business was for me to live my own life. I didn't realize that could be a secondary side effect of it, where you're getting so stressed that it can make you depressed. Starting this book was really great for me because it has helped me close a chapter on the level of depression in my life in the past. It helped me work through some of the energetic ties I still had there. And at the same time, when the book is going to be done, and it's going to be done in the year of 2026, at the same time, when I have this book, it is going to help other business owners and other men who are on the path where they are overworking and burning themselves out. And that path will ultimately lead to depression-like feelings. Starting the book was such a win because I'm not an author. It was uncomfortable. It took a high level of understanding for me to say, how do I communicate how I speak into words that people can understand and digest here? I'm not a writer. Because I'm not a writer, there was a lot that I needed to learn, like outlines, structure, how to pass through different chapters, how to stay on point, how to keep people engaged while reading, because it's a lot different than listening to a podcast episode like you are now or watching me on YouTube like you are now. There's a level of engagement there because you can hear energy, you can hear tone, you can see my passion behind stuff. But when you're reading a book, you have to communicate that. I like to use the books The Lord of the Rings as great examples of this. Spending 75 pages talking about walking into a room, looking at a cup of something that is being poured. It's like that level of detail really helps make you feel like you're there. So just the fact that I was willing to share my story, just the fact that I was willing to take the book on, and just the fact that I was willing to look at all of the potential changes was a really big win for me. Second win was I took on business coaching and I transitioned my business. I had wanted for a really long time to do business coaching, and for some reason I never thought that I was the guy. And I remember that it was the same feeling when I wanted to be a health coach. I used health to change my life and my hormones, but I thought because I didn't have enough clients, I shouldn't promote myself yet. I shouldn't be the guy on the master classes, be the guy doing the podcast. There was this huge sense of fear that I just didn't have enough knowledge. And it's because I was looking for praise and I was looking for validation. Someone to tell me that I was good enough. So the fact that I transitioned into business coaching is a huge win because I did that without praise and validation. I said to myself, I built a successful business, hit $1.4 million in revenue, had hundreds of clients, served 4,400 people over the span of 6 years, which is incredible. 8 years. And all of that was from my knowledge. So when I went into business coaching, I wasn't like, oh, please work with me. I'm like, no, I know my shit. And that was so freeing to be able to make that change and to take that on, because a lot of people might hum and haw on a big decision of closing one business and opening another, a big decision like that, and say, it's going to take me 2 or 3 years to do this. It took me 4 months. I had a program. I had clients on the side. I launched client converting content. I launched No BS sales. Then I launched the C2C program. And I did that because that's what I needed to do. Now, that change in that transition wasn't smooth. There was a lot of clunks to it, but that's where the intention of change came in. I am changing, which means I'm shaking shit up, and that means that stuff is going to be really different in my life right now. The way I approach it's going to be different. The way that I do things is going to be different. The way that I get clients is going to be different. So it's okay being different because that's what changes. Another win from my year was YouTube. I started the YouTube channel, and as you are watching this episode, it is episode 100. That's right. In 2025, I did 100 episodes. The intention was just to do 2 a week. And I was like, I'll do 2 a week. It's got my consistency. It's got change in it. But you know what? We hit 100 episodes and I am so proud of this because like podcasts, most podcasts stop after episode 12 and most YouTube channels stop after the 30th video. Because what happens is they look at lack of views, they look at all this stuff, they get caught up in their head, and then they go, forget it, I'm done. I'm not going to be providing any more value. Not this guy. This guy likes beating his head against the YouTube wall over and over again to figure it out. To figure out the captions, to figure out the tags, to figure out good YouTube descriptions, to figure out great hooks, great intros. And we're going to continue to grow even as we go into the year of 2026 because I know that there's so much that I can share with all of you business owners and you practitioners. So for me, starting YouTube was a big win because it taught me a lot about how to keep people engaged, how to create content, and at the same time, just putting myself out there, which is a little bit different than I did inside of my podcast, The Hormone Helper. Another win, Lorna and I did the Unstoppable Badass event in Florida, and that was really cool. It was amazing being able to be a guest speaker and actually speak alongside my wife and mentor these women into healing their relationship with food and stepping into being an unstoppable badass. I loved the fact that it was just us two that ran the event. I love the women who were there. I love the fact that they were so open. And I learned so much being a speaker for these women because what I saw was it does not matter how you say something. You can never say the right thing to the wrong person. And that event was really great because it got me excited to speak on other stages. That is actually the thing that made me want to speak more. I want to speak in front of people. I want to speak on bigger stages. I want to talk about mental health. I want to talk about depression. I want to talk about relationships and business and leadership. And that wouldn't have been possible if we didn't stretch ourselves and do that event. Paid for a very large facility. The facility was absolutely beautiful. Paid for commercials for this event, which was really cool. And it was like the first time we had ever edited and structured a video that looked like a commercial. It was wild. And I was like, holy shit, we got some seriously good marketing for this thing. I loved it. And because I loved it, all of the women saw incredible results. And then they joined other programs as well too. And Lorna and I got to run a co-container, which was amazing. First time her and I have ever coached the same people together at the same time. Now, speaking of the speaking, that was a huge win for the year of 2025. I got accepted for speaking at TEDx. I spent the better part of a year researching different places to apply, looking at over 100 different venues, applying many stages, and then I got accepted to speak at TEDx. And I'm going to be speaking February 21st in 2026 at Provo, Utah. So if you're in Provo, Utah, I don't know, go pick up a ticket or something like that. I'll drop the link for TEDx. But I am super pumped because this gives me the opportunity for me to speak more on mental health and depression and how people can be resonating more with their lives if they start to take the opportunity to slow down and stay connected. This would have never been possible if I didn't consistently apply and if I wasn't willing to change. Change the way that I was speaking to the presenters, change the way that I was speaking to the people that I was applying, and even change the way that I speak. I've never worked with a speaker coach before. I did for this because I wanted to share my message in such a way that when someone saw my script and my talk, they were like, this needs to be here. And that's what someone said. Someone said, holy shit, this needs to be here. That never would have been possible if I wasn't willing to change and if I wasn't willing to learn. So I'm really proud of that. Personal. And I won't go too much into personal because there are so many things, but they all connect. My son, Dominus, I am so proud to be a dad now. And it's so much more than just a title for me. The aspect of being a father was really letting go of all of these things like I can't run my business while having a family. I can't continue to build my relationships with my wife while having a son. And I don't know how God is going to fit into this because there's a lot of fear. None of that actually mattered. The moment we had our son, it just all worked and it was the best thing for us. So I'm very, very grateful for that. And it's the same thing. I'm very grateful that I was able to this year have a trip with my father and my brother to Portugal. It was right before my son was about to be born. We had that trip in August and my son was coming up in October. And we planned a trip for the three of us to spend like father and like kind of brother son time together. And it was really awesome. I think it was the perfect prep for me to be a dad because I was able to see how my father navigated a lot of the challenges in his life, how my brother navigates a lot of the challenges in his, and really just how I was going to show up to be a better dad. The other aspects that changed from a personal perspective was my passive income. Last year was the first year that we gave, no, actually 2 years in a row. Holy shit. It's 2 years in a row. Yes. That we worked with a financial investor, and each year, 2 years in a row, we got 12% on our income. And it was incredible seeing my money make money in a really stable way. Money that I didn't have to think about, money that I wasn't paying attention to, money that I was like, sometimes you almost forget about it. That's how passive it is. And by passive, I want you to know we had to do the work to make the money. So getting the money to invest is what's not passive. But when you find someone who you can trust, who you can invest in, it ends up working. So we ended up giving a gentleman $100K outside of our business income, and he was able to make 12% year over year, and that money is locked in for 6 years. So we're in a really great place that way. And it's so awesome to be able to just have a conversation and be like, yep, here's where the money is at. And we're like, wow, that's incredible. I will say all of those things from my personal life and all of those things in my business life are all the result of one thing that happened for me personally, our reconnection with God. Maybe you're not a faithful person. Maybe you don't have a God that you follow. And I will say, if you're not, you're really missing out because spiritually, a lot of the things that you are asking for and that you're really hoping you will get in your life feel so much better when you have a father, like a spiritual father, a spiritual guide leading you there and saying, hey, like this is for you. A lot of the times when I was looking through my life, like 2022, 2023, 2024, I really felt like I was doing things alone, even though I had my partner, even though I had my parent, because every time it was like a hard challenge, like 11:30 at night, I'm awake at night, it was just me. Now, whenever I have challenges, I have the ability to lean towards my God and say, hey, can you help me carry this? And it's such a beautiful feeling to know that someone has your back at all times in all places, regardless. That I actually don't have to do anything to be loved, that I'm loved unconditionally, that I don't have to be someone I'm not because he knows exactly who I am. So everything that I achieved was because I fully trusted the process. 2025 is one of the very rare years where I fully let go. I let go of expectations. I let go of the results. I let go of the outcomes, and I just trusted. I trusted my son would be born. He would be healthy. I trusted I would make money. I trusted my business change would go smoothly. I trusted that I would get a stage because I couldn't control whether I would get a stage. I trusted that the words that I was writing on paper would be the right words, and that's how this was all able to manifest. Because I trusted in something else and someone else to help guide me and lead me. So it's been a wild ride. 2025 was certainly a journey, and it was a journey that I am incredibly grateful for in going through this process. So I hope that when I share this with all of you listening, it's for you to really understand that even though you may not be making progress in one area, you're making so much progress in your life all the time in a whole bunch of other things. Like my business changed. So we didn't make the same income that we made at 1.4 million. Doesn't matter because I still serve people at the highest level. I'm working with tons of business clients I love and I'm fired up with, and my business is growing. Even if I thought, oh wow, I'm not making a lot of progress in my speaking because it took me an entire year to get a stage, I was reconnecting with God. I was reconnecting with my family. I was changing the way that I show up. All of this is to say that through this entire process, going into New Year's, don't treat it like new year, new me, or look and put this pressure of like, now I have to perform. Just continue to work on yourself every single day. The key for me that really helped me understand change and consistency, my intentions, and really helped me even understand coming back to God, reconnecting with my business, and finding alignment in my life like I did, was understanding that it is change that happens daily. You don't see change daily. When you look in the mirror, just like in health and fitness, like your clients, they like work out, they go to the mirror and they're like, I look the same. But if you look over the span of an entire year and you compare the first picture to the last day, you're like, holy shit, look at all of the changes that's different. And that's how you reflect. You're really supposed to reflect in large scale. You're supposed to try daily, invest daily, put effort in daily, be disconnected to the outcome daily. And then at the end of a year, at the end of 5 years, at the end of 10 years, you're going to be where you thought you would be. And if you keep open to that, then you're open to how it comes, you're open to when it comes, and you're open to what it looks like. Because it's never going to look like the way you thought it was. I didn't envision any of 2025 being the way that it was going to be, but it's the way that it worked out well. So take this as the opportunity to set some new intentions, to look at the way you are struggling and experiencing challenges a different way, as well as look for different opportunities to redefine your success. So that way you can put yourself back into alignment with your life and in your business. Only when you do those things do you then proceed forward. That's all for this episode, guys. Wishing you all an amazing 2026, and we will see you in the new year.